Hi everyone. The world around us, and especially the internet, is full of the most incredible myths. Some of them can be easily debunked, and some may seem weird at first glance, but turn out to be actually true. Today, we'll take a look at some of the most common myths and find out which ones are true and which are not. Let's get it on. Landing a plane. We all probably saw at least one movie where a flight attendant or a brave passenger successfully lands a plane in extreme conditions. While flight attendants usually take at least a brief piloting course, the passengers may have no experience in the matter whatsoever. So, can an ordinary person still land a plane? Let's find out. In the course of one exciting experiment, several people who didn't know anything about aviation were trying to land a Cessna 172 Skyhawk aircraft. Of course, it was a simulation, not a real flight. The professional pilot was helping them, checking what they were doing and providing detailed instructions.
Oops. What's oops?
As a result, only one person could successfully land the plane. All the other participants either crashed the planes or completely missed the landing strip. Yes, of course, there are cases when a person with virtually no flight experience still managed to land an aircraft. For example, in 2012, 80-year-old Helen Collins had to land a light Cessna aircraft on her own after her husband lost consciousness in the cabin. And in 2013, the pilot of a small plane lost consciousness after taking off from a private airfield in the northeast of England. There was one passenger on board who took control and, following commands from the air traffic control, was able to make an emergency landing. However, experts argue that in order to land the plane successfully, minimal experience is still required, or at least a passion for aviation. For people with no experience whatsoever, landing an airplane, even a small one, is almost an impossible task. Stone in a lawnmower. Everybody knows that there's a sharp blade inside a lawnmower that helps to effectively mow the grass. But what will happen if, for example, a stone accidentally ends up in a lawnmower? Some say that a stone shot from a lawnmower can have the same power as a bullet shot from a .357 pistol. Is it true? Well, if you apply a little ingenuity and creativity, you can check whether this is true. Generally speaking, the experiment measures the kinetic energy transferred to the pendulum by the bullet and by the stone. You can calculate it by observing how a special pendulum swings after the impact. When the bullet hits, the pendulum makes a 60-degree swing, but when struck by a stone shot from a device simulating a lawnmower, the mark is 66 degrees. That's much stronger than a hit by a conventional bullet. Admit it, you didn't expect that result. The experiment tells us one simple thing: just be careful if you use a lawnmower. Before you start working, carefully check the territory and clear it from any stuff that might be out of place. Experts also advise car drivers to park on the sidelines only if the grass has been recently mowed. Otherwise, you shouldn't leave the car there for a long time. Otherwise, you might risk seeing your windows broken. Handcuffs and a bobby pin. Another plot device commonly used by Hollywood movie writers is getting out of handcuffs using a bobby pin or an ordinary wire. You probably thought that this was just a myth invented for entertainment, but it's not quite so.
Come on, cops.
Go, you can do it.
Go.
Go.
A group of researchers decided to conduct an experiment to see if breaking free from handcuffs is as simple as it looks in the movies. The participants had 5 minutes and 1 hairpin to get out of handcuffs in any way they wanted. Moreover, none of the volunteers, of course, had any special training. Naturally, everyone without the exception decided to do what they saw in the movies, to put the bobby pin in the handcuffs. And what do you know? This method worked for most volunteers. It turned out that this trick is universal and works for any handcuffs on Earth because they all work in the same way. A bobby pin or any other sharp object releases the ratchet, then the cuff will just slide out, and that's how you open the handcuffs. Talking to plants. We bet that you've heard the theory that says that plants can feel, and their growth is affected by their surroundings. Some people believe that if you talk to plants kindly or turn on classical music, they'll grow much faster. Is this true? Well, here are the results of another experiment. As part of this 4-week test, scientists built 7 greenhouses and put 10 identical plants in each of them. There was perfect silence in the central greenhouse, and the growth rate of the plants in it was the starting point for comparison. In the other greenhouses, hard rock and classical music were playing. The remaining 4 greenhouses were divided between 2 people. One spoke kindly to his plants.
Oh, lovely morning to all you peas. I love you peas.
And the other constantly swore at them. The results of the experiment were astonishing. It turned out that in a month, the plants that continuously listened to hard rock grew faster. The plants that listened to classical music were also considerably bigger. So we can conclude that music really does affect plants' growth, regardless of the genre. Most likely, the trick is in certain frequencies and vibrations that have a positive effect on the development of plants. Keep this in mind. Curving a bullet. Remember the action movie Wanted starring Angelina Jolie? In 2008, this film made the headlines. Perhaps the most spectacular scene was the one where the mysterious assassin Fox, played by Jolie, fires an unusual bullet. The projectile moves in a curved trajectory, killing not only all the members of the sect, but also the girl herself. Yes, it sure looks impressive, but can you really do this trick? The host decided to recreate Jolie's shot in real life. Several people tried to twist their arms in one way or another to give the bullet a direction, but nothing worked. The gun always fired in a straight line, no matter how hard they tried. Then, the human hand was replaced with a robotic one, which is twice as strong and faster, but still, nothing changed. The trajectory remained straight. This is because the direction of the bullet movement doesn't depend on the strength and speed of the shooter, it depends more on the depth and length of the twist turn of the gun. And although there is a weapon on the market that can fire a bullet which can deviate from a trajectory slightly, the curve will not be as remarkable as in the movie. There's also yet another detail of the scenario that looks unrealistic. The bullet not only curves, it also kills several people in a row at once. This is hardly possible in real life. After all, upon hitting an obstacle, any object loses a significant part of its energy and speed. Doorway and earthquake. Did they tell you at school that the safest places in the house during an earthquake are the doorways of the bearing walls and the bathroom? Well, let's see if this is true. In this experiment, the researchers decided to recreate the conditions of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Back then, 3,000 people died and 80% of the buildings in the city were completely destroyed. Following the strong shocks, the structure they built collapsed quickly. However, the wall with the doorway remained undamaged, even after several minutes of active earthquake, so this advice is actually pretty good. Sinking ship. Let's talk about another movie, Titanic. Of course, it's full of exaggerations and odd scenes. Many fans are still convinced that there was enough room on the wooden board for both Rose and Jack, but let's talk about something else. You may remember that when escaping a sinking ship, the first thing that passengers are trying to do is get away from it. Why is this so important? Well, it's believed that the sinking ship can drag everything nearby down with it. The ship will be filled with water quickly, and this can create a dangerous funnel. Is it true? Well, so far there isn't actually any evidence of this. The experimenters tried to test the theory, but the results were questioned by many people. The thing is, they conducted an experiment with a small boat with a displacement of 9 tons, claiming that the theory proved to be false. However, don't forget that in the case of a large passenger ship, the displacement can reach up to 50,000 tons, and this is a completely different situation. Snakes and salt. People who love camping believe that if you pour salt around your tent, not a single snake will bother you. In addition, many climbers also use this method to scare reptiles off, and some even pour salt on their doorstep. But does it really work? The following experiment will help us figure this out. In order to establish whether this method really works, a man created a kind of salt circle on the grass, and then placed a snake right in the middle of it. However, in just a couple of moments, the reptile crossed the border of the circle with no hesitation. So where did this myth come from? Some people believe that salt burns the skin of snakes, which is why they're so scared of it. This is not true though. Most reptiles don't even feel this substance through their scales, but salt can be really effective against leeches or snails that come into contact with the ground with the help of the slime. If you decide to get rid of snakes, better use professional repellents or an ultrasonic repeller. Psst. next? Dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.